What's up guys, and welcome to another KeenGamer review. This time we have the Womier K66 RGB keyboard. So let's dive straight in. The subtitle of this review becomes clear as soon as you take one single look at the Womier K66. Even among other keyboards with such a small form factor, the design of this one is really striking. This mostly stems from the fact that its main body, housing the PCB, is made out of PMMA acrylic glass, which is just another term for plexiglass. This immediately makes it somewhat unique among most of the keyboards on the market that usually use a combination of aluminum and plastic for the main housing. With RGB turned off, K66 definitely looks like a keyboard geared toward those looking for a clean, minimalistic look without any branding or gaming related embellishments. Even the underside of the casing is very minimal, with only the screws keeping the three pieces of acrylic together being immediately visible. The only downside of such minimalism and the acrylic design is the fact that the keyboard has no adjustable feet, which could be an issue if you are used to using your keyboard at a more angled position. I personally didn't find this problematic, as the K66 height is somewhat lower than many other high-profile keyboards, ensuring an adequate wrist position even without the height adjustment. The acrylic glass itself is frosted to make it almost completely scratch resistant, but also to somewhat diffuse all the bright lights sitting underneath. Durability wise, acrylic doesn't come near the sturdiness of aluminum, but definitely feels way tougher than plastic while still being similar in weight, with the entire keyboard coming in at 580 grams. This, coupled with its amazingly compact size and the detachable Type-C cable, makes it extremely portable and easy to handle. But now let's turn on and check out that RGB. What's special about this keyboard is that along with the standard LEDs under the keys themselves, it also has 43 additional ones in the casing itself. This essentially means that if you wanted to, the K66 can become one of the most RGB intense keyboards you probably ever used. Now we can stand and argue about how tasteful it is to throw RGB on everything and call it a day, but I think you can't deny that the K66 looks absolutely gorgeous with all the lights on. As mentioned, the frosted glass slightly diffuses the lights and makes them blend into each other, providing one of the best flow RGB effects in any keyboard to date. What's even better is that the casing LEDs and the ones underneath the keys can be customized separately to create awesome combinations. The RGB key combinations can be somewhat confusing when you first start using the keyboard, but you quickly get the hang of it. The function key and left control are used to cycle between a couple of different casing effects, while the function and right control are used to cycle between around 20 different key effects. Pressing the function key and space turns the keyboard into a color selection palette, which allows you to choose one static color to be used for all the available effects on both the casing and the keys themselves. I particularly like the combination of white underglow with pink keys, but you can really play around to make something suited to your setup. No matter the combo of your choosing, however, you can be sure that the K66 will turn heads and receive comments even from a non-gaming crowd. When it comes to everything above the casing, the keyboard is purchasable with Gate-All-Around switches, and our review unit came with the linear gaming focused red ones. An important note when it comes to the switches is that there are multiple versions of this keyboard floating around on the internet. Our version wasn't hot swappable, but depending on the vendor of your choice, some might be, so be sure to check the descriptions, reviews and comments before making your purchase if hot swapping is important to you. Sitting above the switches, you have the ABS plastic keycaps. While they are nothing to write home about in terms of quality, I really liked the minimalistic, non-gaming font of choice and the side print solution for alternate functions for keys that are missing from the keyboard. Of course, we can't talk about the keys and switches without mentioning how typing on the K66 actually sounds. And surprisingly, right out of the box, it's almost on par with typing on a keyboard that's been modded and thoroughly lubed, which is to say, extremely satisfying. Here, have a listen. As the name suggests, this keyboard uses a 66 key layout. Not quite TKL and not quite 60% keyboard, as it only features the arrows plus the insert and delete keys. While these additional keys don't add any substantial benefit when compared to what's available on a 60% keyboard, it at least gives it a really distinct look. The only issue you might have is that you won't be able to use custom keycaps meant for 60% keyboards and will instead need to opt for the potentially more expensive TKL keycap sets. When it comes to performance, as mentioned, our review unit came with a linear red gate-around switches, which are more or less equivalent to their cherry counterpart. They require 45 grams of force to actuate with an actuation point of 2 mm. They smoothly bottom out and are equally satisfying to use for both typing and gaming. It's essentially the best of both worlds, and you won't have to compromise on the performance of either. Sure, you might like to have a bit of a tactile bump when using a keyboard for typing, but the K66 really made me not miss it at all. As far as gaming performance goes, it's both great and somewhat lacking. It really depends on how demanding you are in terms of additional features that we've gotten used to from most mid to high-end keyboards. When it comes to sheer performance, it's mostly as you'd expect from gate-around Reds, and you'll have no issues playing all sorts of games. Granted, for me, the K66 was most enjoyable when used for typing, but I didn't shy away from using it for anything from fast-paced shooters to RPGs with great results. However, if you want to dive a bit deeper in terms of customizing the keyboard's performance, you'll find yourself somewhat disappointed. The K66 doesn't have any sort of accompanying software, so you won't have the option of creating different profiles, assigning macros, remapping keys, or micromanaging the RGB lighting. Some of these can be handled by third-party software, but that's a less than an optimal solution that can unnecessarily bloat your PC. Still, I can appreciate the simplicity of K66 in the sense that you get everything you need right out of the box. It's a real definition of plug and play that only the most demanding of users will find lacking. From a design perspective, I can just as easily see it being used for those wanting a clean and minimal setup, as well as those who want a full-blown gaming one. Its quality is definitely higher than its price of $62 would suggest, and in fact, in some aspects, it blows the keyboards twice the price right out of the water, completely shattering the prejudices that come with less known brands.